Hi friends, long time no see. BAND-MAID released a new video just like, I don't know, like 2 hours ago, 1 hour ago. And I was really surprised to be honest. I saw this in a comment to one of the reaction videos and it was like um, 38 minutes ago BAND-MAID has released a new music video. And you know that actually the Dragon Cries, I personally expected it really much because that's a very interesting song. You know, all that fuss about it, like produced by Tony Visconti and stuff. Well, it's not so much about that, but it's entirely in English, and the theme was really appealing to me. I actually did reaction to it to audio only, but now as BAND-MAID has released the music video, I was thinking, like, I was actually writing them on Twitter that girls, now we need anime sort of clip for the Dragon Cries. I was imagining something like this, like the dragon as a embodiment of God, you know, like universal mind or something like this. The way it is shown, represented in Japanese and Chinese culture, you know, the dragon is like some supreme being, you know, wise and stuff like that. And I imagine some sort of anime which this dragon would sort of react to the conditions of the world and basically crying about the state of humanity. Uh, and the music video which they released pretty much is about that. So let's watch it together and talk about it. I watched it already once, and I was really impressed. I was sitting like, you know, absolutely immersed, you know, in thoughts about that, and it so much resonates with my soul and my thoughts recently. You know, that I think it's really an important message. Basically, Miku is really great, you know. She's great as lyricist, and I still believe that it was she who created the concept, and then this guy, Tony-san and Thomas-san, yes, so two guys who helped produce this song. So this Thomas Kennedy or Thomas Kenny or whoever his name, uh, I think he basically translated into English her imagery, because imagery is basically pretty much like Japanese imagery. It's not Western imagery of dragons and things. Um, okay, let's watch it. Yeah, you see this dilapidated room, and what is this? Soldiers marching.
Something happened long ago.
Yeah, here we are with all that stuff. Yeah, you know that if you want to scare people with what humanity is doing, of course you can do it very well, right? They actually chosen very good imagery about that. Um, um, yeah, that's actually the room. Yeah, uh, like I think it symbolizes basically the state of the world. It's interesting that, as you can see, okay, they show all this destruction, you know, and war and everything. These people, you know, the people from the various strata of society, young and old, white and black, you know, women and men, they all represent humanity here, and that is very nice actually that they have chosen all the images of these people. As you can see here, it's a very interesting approach. Uh, Psyche and Miko are sitting here, so they created a very interesting feeling about it, like they talking to us, you know, like they they're not the dancing, you know, as usual in the music videos, but they sort of like sit down with us, you know, we want to talk seriously with you, and then yeah, let's talk seriously, and then they basically, I mean, actually believe this video must become viral. I hope so, because it has very strong uh, political statement, I should say, like not political in the sort of sense like the dirty politics, but um, they care about the world. You know, usually before BAND-MAID, we never perceived them like this. I don't know about Japanese people because of course, the lyrics of the songs are really deep sometimes, but I felt that Miko was more like insight oriented. You know, she was like more concentrated on like personal spiritual development, and she avoided uh, talking to the world about the social problems. And the Dragon Cries maybe is not just a pioneering song in terms of like it's done in English and it's done in good English and with an English producer and English lyricist, English speaking lyricist, but it also, they like openly, you know, they came into the open world and say, you know, we have a message. And it's interesting, the five girls, you know, they just sitting in a room, and okay, two of them sitting, three of them playing because they speak with their instruments, and they make a statement. And it's very great, you know. It reminds me actually of what Ozzy Osbourne, for instance, did. You know that Ozzy Osbourne has a lot of social-oriented songs, and he spoke a lot about the problems in society, about like unity between people and you know, all that stuff. And it's like I wanted to say that women are not so often speak about the problems of the world like this, like war, you know, and famine and destruction and environmental pollution and everything. But in fact, probably they do, you know, because we already had a discussion about this in the comments on subreddit of BAND-MAID, that as a Baha'i, you know, we have this statement in our holy writings that peace on earth will be established when women will enter the domain of politics. It's a prophecy in Baha'i faith. And I firmly believe that. I find it quite reasonable, you know, that all the current problems you see in this video, yeah, in this BAND-MAID musical video, they created by male-dominated society, right? Of course, we can interpret it differently. Like you said, oh, it's not the problem of man only. It's maybe like, I don't know, problem of whatever, just whatever men ascribe their problems to. But my interpretation, I agree, I mean, with our holy writings, that uh, men and women will have different, uh, how to say it, motivation or like structure of thinking, that mm, men, they like the like a rooster, the roosters fighting, or like the deers fighting, yeah. So they clash with one another and they want to take over in order to show in front of the females. And females are just standing back and waiting for a winner to be determined, and then they choose the winner for the um, for having children, right? Uh, but that works in the animal world, but it doesn't really work in the human world. Uh, we should not behave as animals, but men have like something in their nature, which is really problematic. And I actually firmly believe that yes, it's true. When women will have power, and they will not imitate men, as people said, yeah, but you find a lot of uh, female politicians which are as brutal as male politicians. Well, yes, because they like, okay, Margaret Thatcher, and uh, whoever, actually Angela Merkel is a rather good example because she's not so much imitating the males. She's like more, she's like a classical woman, she's a scientist, and she's very well educated. She has a PhD in, I think, biology or something like this. So she's very well educated scientist, and she never imitated this fight for power and everything. Um, so yeah, male politicians brought a lot of problems on the world, and female politicians, I think, will start to solve them. Because they don't have this deficiency in the mind, which makes them to fight for domination. Miku's domination, it's entirely different from how domination is perceived by men. Yeah, as you can see in this video, all these examples, I firmly believe that, yeah, if and women will take over the world. They will become rulers, and they will. Some people said like, oh, even we would not have a medical system if women would dominate the world. And I'm like, what? Because okay, I'll share with you what we have here in Russia. That Soviet Union was quite an extensive experiment in many things. Yeah, the Soviet system. They really try. Okay, they try to get rid of the personal, of the idea of what's called the. I forget all the English words. Like you cannot own the means of production. Yeah, you cannot be a personal owner of a factory. Say, yeah. So this idea, like, of course, you can have personal belongings, but you are not allowed to have like huge money or something. That was one side of this experiment. But another very important point was actually equality of men and women, and that was really, really a strong thing in Soviet Union. That actually started from very 1917, more than 100 years ago, yeah, when the Soviet Revolution happened. And one of the key things was that, yes, we must, the women and men must be equal. And it was, I would not say that it succeeded like 100%, but I see actually the differences with other countries. The equality of men and women in Russia is much deeper actually than in other countries. For instance, there are whole female-dominated fields, like industry fields, or like social fields, like banking and accountants. in banks or in like in accountant companies, only females. I don't think you can even find a man anywhere in a bank. Maybe like a head of the bank, maybe, but even okay, the head of the central bank of Russia is a woman, so that says something about it. This situation, right? I, as a scientist, also like okay, I'm sales manager now. I'm selling equipment, scientific equipment. If you come to a lab, you'll be really hard pressed to see a man there. A man usually is somewhere there dealing with like utilities, something like carrying heavy things, basically. Yeah, that's what the head of the lab is mostly woman, and the all the lab operators are women and everything like that because it requires a lot of attention, and things like attention to details at which women are very good, and it's not physically really difficult, you just sit in a room in front of some complicated equipment. Usually service guys, those who fix the instruments with the wrenches and screwdrivers, they are men as well. I think it's like, well, maybe it's just natural predisposition of men towards fixing things. But otherwise, it's all females in the labs. And another thing which we discussed in that comment, that there would be no medicine if the world would be dominated by women. Medicine in Russia is absolutely dominated by women. You find men only in some like specific fields, like surgeons, for instance. Surgery is done by men usually. I don't know why. Maybe because men more brutal and they like to cut people into pieces, I don't know. But otherwise, it's everywhere women, everywhere. You go there, I don't know if you, in the whole hospital, you find like, of say 100 doctors and you find like 5 men, you'd be lucky. So for me, it's like, yeah, if we would have a female-dominated society, women-dominated society, medicine and banking and all these things would be very well developed. And we would have no military because military is dominated by men. Men like to fight. So that was my idea. Actually, there was one more thing which I wanted to mention in connection with this video. I don't know what Miko or Psyche think about all these problems in particular. Because I never read in an interview or anything that they spoke about this. Which is strange. I think they tried to avoid it in order to avoid controversy. They're musicians, right, after all. So, but in fact, I would like to share with you a certain thing, which I think is important. This one. There is this thing called Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. It was created in 1947, so 2 years after the end of the World War II, and it was created by all these physicists who created the atomic bomb. So Einstein was like in that board, as well, and he contributed to this journal in the beginning, to this bulletin. And they created this idea of Doomsday clock. I'm sure you heard about it. Even Iron Maiden had a song called 2 Minutes to Midnight, so they were basically singing about this, because 2 minutes to midnight, Doomsday clock was at 2 minutes to midnight. It was there actually last year. And they said that we are in a new abnormal, as they call it. So it's like stable situation, but it's stable. We're really on the edge of extinction. We're really on the edge of apocalypse. So they moved it from 2 minutes to midnight to 100 seconds to midnight. It's like first time, I think, in history when they actually start to move it in seconds. all these things are mentioned in BAND-MAID video. All these things, like whatever you have there, you have war, you have global warming, right? You have global warming, guys. Then you have environmental pollution. Then you have war. You have the environmental pollution, as you can see. They show these garbage piles and everything. So then they show, of course, the war, which is really, oh yeah, you see drug addiction, and the global warming again, all these fires which ravaged Australia and Siberia last summer. Siberia was burning really heavily as well, and Australia, of course, which is burning right now, and I think still burning. So all these problems, they show actually nuclear explosion and everything. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, nuclear explosion. Yeah, all that stuff. So yeah, I'm really impressed with what BAND-MAID is doing. They really, if they want to conquer the world, they must come with a statement, and they did come with a statement finally. So that's it. I sincerely recommend you to watch this video really attentively. Just immerse yourself in it, and meditate upon it. It's really great. The song is actually very great. I still hold that it's really great. With a musical video, it really doesn't matter if it's like compressed or whatever, messed up with reverb or whatever people were saying. It's just great music, and you understand that that's the message they bring in, the statement they make. Okay, thanks for watching, and I hope that we'll have more wonderful stuff from BAND-MAID in the future. And goodbye.